Hello and welcome. It is New Year's Eve. It's 12 noon, 2021. Let's take a moment to acknowledge that Betty White, comedian and general amazing human, has passed away today at the age of 99. She was discovered in her house at 9 a.m. this morning. Death by natural causes. We all thought she'd outlive all of us, but apparently she decided to get out while the getting was good, because I guess even she was afraid of 2022. So our condolences to the friends and families and all the hundreds and hundreds of people her life has touched. Betty White, dead at 99 today. We'll miss you. Moving forward, sadly, off of that, I had a couple topics that I wanted to address today. Of course, I already did two of them. I did my tabletop role-playing game news of the year wound up. I did my redo of the video about the Hickman, and now I'm going to do a video about something I said yesterday that apparently upset people who, are obviously way more intelligent than I am. So on a video that Aaron was doing, that's Aaron the Pendantic, he was talking about Greyhawk, and he was talking about his Greyhawk campaign, and he was talking about sandboxes, and I jokingly made a post about how sandboxes do not work in Dungeons & Dragons unless the player characters are motivated. They need motivation. Well, somebody who has way too much free time and way too much anger and a way too high opinion of themselves only read the first part and decided to make a video about it and how they have run successful sandboxes and blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't know anybody who's run a successful sandbox except for the ones that had meta plots and things to motivate the players. So let me just once again say, I don't think sandboxes, hexcrawls, Westmarch campaigns work unless you give the players something to motivate them. Otherwise, from my experience from both sandboxes that I've run and played in, they just sit around. If there's nothing to excite them, if there's nothing to motivate them, if there's no reason for them to investigate the world, they don't. They just sit around, and inevitably one or two things happen. They just start murdering NPCs and fighting amongst themselves and chaotically stupid wandering around because they're bored and they're frustrated, or they sit around going, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Maybe the barkeep can tell us something to do. I don't know. I don't have anything to do. You guys are just supposed to explore and stumble across adventures. I don't want to do that. So you need to give them motivation. You need to give them a meta plot. And otherwise, why? What is my motivation other than explore? Even if it's as simple as time limit. That's a meta plot. Let's look at what I consider two of the best recent sandboxes. Well, three of the best. And obviously at the top of the list, I would say Pathfinder Kingmaker Adventure Path is one of, if not the best, Hexcrawl sandboxes, because it gives you an amazing backstory. It gives you a reason for the player characters to be there. It gives you an overarching meta plot that engages the characters and forces them to have a reason to explore the world, have a reason to do domain play, have a reason to worry about resources and the care and feeding of the NPCs, having NPCs that are constantly interacting with them and asking them to do things, giving them a world that is responding to them and also forcing them to respond. Deal with this. You have a time frame. This is happening. Can you go rescue my pig? That is why it works so great. And it gives you so many great rules on how to do domain play and how to play Kingmaker and how to make what the player characters do in the world actually matter, and make the world actually matter to the player characters. If they don't have a reason to leave the village, they're not going to. If the world doesn't engage them, excite them, motivate them, give them goals that are achievable, and make them feel the world is paying attention to them, it's just they won't. They want the game to engage them. Whether it's I want to sell the most cupcakes that my cupcake seller can say, or I want to drop the ring in Mordor and make sure that all of the world is safe, or I want to rescue the princess from the Death Star, there needs to be something. NPCs can do it. And the NPC should be one of the tools you use to motivate them because that gives them a reason to keep NPCs alive. And the world should interact with them. And Kingmaker is great, again, because it gives you an amazing backstory. It gives you this chunk of land. It gives you this, go west, young man idea. Here is land. Claim it. Carve out your own kingdom. And then it gives you the meta plot and the time frame that you have to deal with. The second one, of course, would be Chult from Tomb of Annihilation. Chult is another great sandbox with an overarching meta plot and a time frame and the sort of this doom that is hanging over everybody with the death plague. But then you just have this vast jungle island filled with so much fun tropes and so many potentials for adventures that they could just go wander off on a sidetrack, engage with some NPC that the module says, you might or might not encounter them. There's so many open places where you could add new stuff and expand upon the lore of Chult and the lore of the story and the lore of how the death plague is affecting the world. And that constant reminder that, hey, this is happening, this matters, people are being affected by this, and there's something going on. Why is, follow the clues to the inevitable final confrontation. But still, here's this huge map that you can just wander around with, and everywhere you go, there's reasons for you to be there, there's NPCs to interact with, there's motivation for your characters, and there's enough open ground that if you want to ignore the meta plot for a game or two and just find out what that witch on top of the hill is up to, or ride the log flumes down into the water, or go fishing for the, dragon turtle, or engage in the dinosaur races, and just, sidebar, the fact that Tomb of Annihilation opens up with dinosaur races makes it the single greatest adventure ever. There has to be motivation. Now, I've run a no motivation sandbox, and I've played in the do whatever you want, just play in my sandbox games. They don't work. The players need a motivation. If they don't have a motivation, they'll start trying to make their motivation of their own, and that motivation is awfully destructive to themselves and the world around them because they will lash out at anything that upsets them, and that's usually NPCs. I mean, I remember when I was running my Race Across the Underdark sandbox, and the only caveat I had was get from one end to the other end by a specific time. It was basically the Great Race in the Underdark, because that's what they all agreed they wanted to do. And the very first, second game, they're murdering NPCs because nobody's telling them what to do. And there's like, what? And then some NPCs trying to sell them a horse because, hey, you're going across the Underdark, you're probably gonna need something to carry your stuff. And they just killed the NPC. He just for no reason other than he ignored me. He's just doing his job. But there, you've set things in motion because now you're going to be, considered murderers. And this is the Underdark. Who knows what laws each individual Underdark society is going to follow or ignore, and how Drow and Mind Flayers and whatever are going to react to you. But here's this meta plot. You need to get to the other end of the Underdark and get to this spot by a specific period of time. But that was not enough motivation for them. It's only when you start adding the NPCs and the plots and the rewards and the circle, the hoops to jump through, that they start feeling motivated. My outer space cowboy western sandbox didn't really work until I started adding plots, adding NPCs, giving them motivation, even if that motivation was make money, giving them a reason to keep PCs alive. And every sandbox I've played in where there was no meta arc, where there was no motivation, where there was no reason for people to move forward, including the very last 5e campaign I played, which is all supposedly just be you, the players, design the world. That game just crashed and burned because what was our motivation? Design the world. And what am I supposed to do? What's going on? What is my character's reason for being here? Why should I ever leave? And it ended up being, murder hobos and fighting amongst ourselves because there was no reason for us to be there. There was no reason for us to interact with the world. There was no reason for us to move forward. So the chaotic, stupid players start attacking NPCs. Like one of the last games was the 5th level monk decides to challenge the Grand Master of Flowers to a fight because he's bored and he doesn't agree with the Grand Master of Flowers telling him, you need to stay here. Of course, the Grand Master of Flowers kicked his ass, and 2 other player characters started trying to kill each other, and my player character was just like, I'm bored, this is stupid, this isn't going anywhere, I'm going to go hang out with the dragons. It just ended badly because there was no reason for us. So, in closing, in regards to my comment, in regards to the bully who has nothing better to do than piss all over everybody else, the comment was, sandboxes do not work in D&D unless the player characters are given motivation and a meta plot. The reason why Kingmaker is considered so amazing is because of the motivation, because of the way it was written, because of the meta plot, because of the ability to make the player characters feel like their actions matter and that the world is constantly engaging them to go and explore. Go west, young man. Here are your goals. Not just go west, young man, and wander around until you hit something. Because I'm not. If you don't give me a reason to go, I'm not. I'm just going to get bored and start killing PCs. So yeah, mind your own business. Stay out of other people's vlogs. Blah blah blah. I'm sure you'll post something about this because that's what you do. Anyways, that is my response to myself and my comment and my opinion on sandboxes. You can disagree with me. That's fine. I could be 100% wrong. Remember, this is only my experience and my opinions, and maybe somebody out there has run a successful sandbox where they player characters were their own motivation and you didn't have to have a plot. And if you did, great. Me, I'm a fan of Kingmaker. I'm a fan of Tomb of Annihilation. I'm a fan of self-contained, motivational, meta plot sandboxes. But that's just me. And, apparently I'm an idiot. I am the OGGM. If you appreciate these long-winded vlogs of mine and want to hear more in 2022, let me know. If you don't want to hear me do this anymore, let me know. Till next time, have a happy new year, stay safe, and stay off my land!